Hello, YouTube. This is Chelsea the Destroyer. Some people wanted me to do a follow-up to the DashCon Internet Historian video. I'm gonna be honest. I wasn't really planning on doing another Internet Historian. But a lot of people did ask me, or some people did, I don't know, ask me to do this one. So I was like, sure, I don't know. We'll find out. DB says it's kind of dull. It's probably, I mean, it's a Q&A. It might be. It's really just going to be like my opinion. I think a lot of people who asked, again, I say a lot of people did ask. And I feel like they asked because I run a convention too, so I had probably a different opinion and view site, whatever, on like a lot of the things that happened and why. And I think it really just comes down to like they've never run an event like this before and they don't know what to expect, which is not out of pocket, I don't think, because like you can only really know how to run any of this if you have someone that has run somebody that can run one, right? That can tell you. And even if you had someone that ran a convention like 10 or 20 years ago, it's very different than running one today. Like venues are different now. What they expect up front is different now, especially after the pandemic. A lot of things have changed. And I know this was pre-pandemic, but just a lot of things change a lot of things, if that makes sense. At 1.25 speed. I'm not gonna run it at faster speed. Oh shit. Anyway, I'll talk about that later, I guess, Bash. But so I think that's why some people asked me to watch the Q&A video, because I do have a different thought process of what happened with DashCon and why, and kind of opinions, I suppose. So let's watch this. Worst case, if I don't like it, I just will stop watching it and it won't go up on YouTube. But if you do like my content, please do algorithmic interactions with me, such as like, comment, subscribing. Feel free to ask me questions and I'll try to answer them. And if you want to hang out with me in person, I do stream on Twitch 5 days a week, most weeks. If you follow my Twitter, you can find out when I am or am not streaming. And on Wednesdays and Thursdays, I usually do my watch-alongs and reactions. So feel free to come and hang out and watch along with me. Anyway, let's get to going. Grab your snackies, grab your bevies. Let me know what you're eating, what you're drinking, etc. Okay.
It's like,
can I at least choose my old lady picture?
Oh, goodness.
No, you get the one that matches all the Harold stock photos.
Oh, does he have like a...
Yeah,
he has a proper one?
She's in like every Harold.
I thought you took his like real life wife.
No, hold on.
You know, she's not a looker. I have no idea how old
I think she
Harold
looks fine.
Is he like 70 or...
I think he's in his early 60s.
Yeah, she's not terrible.
She's not terrible.
Yeah, it looks like she's giving him a hand job.
Yeah, no, it's Photoshop.
Oh.
This is the Q&A to the DashCon video.
How's the sound here? Because this video was louder than what we were just watching, so I did have to turn it down a little.
Historian, and this is Internet Historian.
Hello.
And we're going to go through a lot of...
Wait, is Internet Historian, like, I guess his partner? Or is there a YouTube video? Like, is she a YouTube channel too? Like, I want to know. What video she got going on?
The comments to the video, because a lot of people ask the same things. And we're going to try and answer some of the other questions. For example, did I ever find that DVD?
Should I just preempt and say, before people ask in this who I am?
Yeah.
Just, I'm not your sister. Caretaker, kind of. I'm not your wife.
Kind
of. Live-in girlfriend is what I'm thinking. That'll do.
Sounds pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah, that just
well,
answers,
we've been
that's
together
half the
for
question.
we've been together for about 45 years. Maybe it's time to settle down.
Yeah, are they wearing wedding rings in that picture? No.
No, neither of them. All right, so
just to get that out of the way. Okay, DashCon. With these, I actually have taken screenshots of the actual questions, so but they're just kind of the abridged version. So, why was it called DashCon?
Because of Tumblr.
Oh, there's an interesting story behind this. So, the event started with a fundraiser on Indiegogo, and they wanted to raise $7,000, and they raised
Wasn't it like
$4,000
TumblrCon or something?
And they actually set up the event under the name TumblrCon.
Ah, I was right.
And they got about halfway through that campaign, and then it was either their lawyer or someone from Tumblr said to them, by the way, this is $1 billion company, and you can't just use their trademark.
Yeah.
So they realized that they could be in serious trouble. So they changed the name from TumblrCon to DashCon, Dash being the dashboard that you get on every sort of social media.
So, fun thing about that is that's actually true for a lot of things, like a lot of convention-related things. You have to be kind of careful about what you end up titling your convention, because there are conventions that have specific trademarks or copyrights or whatever. So, like, for example, Lollapalooza, you can't use Palooza, I don't think, within certain connotations, because of Lollapalooza. When I say certain connotations, you can't be certain types of events or whatever that are similar to what Lollapalooza is. And then there's also like things like San Diego Comic-Con and New York City Comic-Con. There's I don't think that, and I could be wrong about this, but I don't think you can be like a major city following with Comic-Con following, if that makes sense, because of like the company that is in charge of those conventions. I could be wrong, it could have changed, but I know that was like an issue for some other conventions, like even small conventions that were kind of in my area for a little while. It seems like state Comic-Con seems okay, or like different like naming, like a nickname of the city Comic-Con is okay, but yeah. So you have to be kind of careful with how you name things. If what you're trying to name your convention is something that is trademarked or copywritten or whatever, like if the parent company of that cares, they're gonna send you like a cease and desist, or possibly you're gonna get into legal trouble. Like you gotta be careful. You gotta kind of pay attention, I guess, and like have some like backups ready, I guess. I remember years ago there was, I want to say in Kentucky, there was like another convention that was trying to name themselves Comic-Con, and we had to like reach out to them and was like, it's spelled the same way too, and we were like, no man, like we've existed for like 10 years, what are you doing? You can't use our name. Because we were getting like questions, because like I think people were upset that they didn't get like an answer to their email or something, and then, so they were contacting us, and we were like, that's not us, we are not in Kentucky, what's up? Like, so yeah, you just gotta be careful.
Platform, so it became even more vague than the original.
I don't think it was vague. I'm sorry, I know I just paused, but this is gonna be a long video. I don't think it was vague. Like, the reason it was called Dash is because your Tumblr feed, I guess, is called kind of like your Dash. So I see why it's called DashCon. Like, that's fine. You're trying to make something that is based on a specific, like, a website. So isn't it kind of weird that like every social media has like a feed on it, but they're all called different things? If it's wild to me, I don't know.
Community of Tumblr. It's like saying, let's have a Facebook con. What are you going to do? Invite 660 million people? All right.
Good. All right. Who was the official promoter? Like,
I don't think you could have a Facebook con, because like Tumblr's whole big thing, like the people that use Tumblr mostly used it because they're in fandoms. Like Tumblr was very welcoming to fandoms, and at the time they had huge fandoms on Tumblr, like Super Hulock and all that other stuff. Like there were giant fandoms, and you know, Night Vale was there, so they're targeting people. That sounds kind of negative, but they were like basically targeting fandoms, right? Like people that were in fandom culture and wanted to come to a fandom convention that basically is like, here are the big fandoms on Tumblr, come hang out, make friends. So you can't really do the same thing with Facebook. Facebook is not the same.
I think they mean,
Oh.
well, they mean, because most conventions have sort of someone who, gives it out to the public, I think. So who was behind the convention? Basically that group of people.
I'm gonna be pausing every 3 seconds. So who was the official promoter and like whatever? You don't necessarily have to hire a promoter. Like you can homebrew things. Like Comic-Con's homebrewed. Like we've been going for 15 years. I'm not saying like we're perfection. Like we definitely run into people still, even in our city, who have never heard of us. And I get it. Like we've done like posters or like small billboards. We've postered up. Like it's kind of hard to get your name out there. We've done targeted ads online on major social medias. We've done like radio ads. We've done the blip billboards, like the video billboards, electronic billboards. Like it's kind of hard to get your name out there. Word of mouth is one of the strongest ways as a convention to get your name out, and that's like going to another convention, setting up what's called a fan table, and like passing out your like business cards or posters or advertisements or whatever, like because you're targeting people that go to conventions, right? So like it's easier to get people that already go to conventions than it is to get people that don't know what a convention is or has never. So it can be very difficult.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Who created it? Who brought it to the community?
It was a bunch of people who are a little bit prominent on Tumblr, or who use Tumblr a lot, or are big fans.
Were they prominent? They were known beforehand?
Sort of. They were. I think some of them were well known in the Super Who-Lock community, which is a cross of
Doctor
Supernatural, Doctor Who, and Sherlock Holmes. Yeah, basically, I don't want to say these people names.
You could easily, I say easily, I was not in the Super Who-Lock fandom. I'm not in basically any of the fandoms that they're showing in this video for the most part. Like, they showed like a Rainbow Dash from My Little Pony. This is, I think, a Homestuck. I could be wrong, but I think this is Homestuck. I wasn't in any of these. I heard about DashCon. Like, it was shared and reblogged all over Tumblr. Like, so like I heard about it. I think they got the word out, I think, pretty decently, but I'm just going to continue anyway.
Are these people's names? Although you can find them pretty easily online. They were, at least at the time, mostly teenagers.
Yeah.
18, 19, and a couple people in their early 20s, and one girl in particular who seemed to really head everything, who was 32.
Someone's got to be the head.
Is she the large and...
Someone's got to be in charge. Someone's going to call the shots. Because, like, if you have... Like, you can have committees for things, but what you're going to run into, the more people you have that have... The more people you have, the harder it is going to go forward. Just because you're going to have people that, like, constantly butt heads or argue. Like, yeah, you can just do a situation where you have a large committee and you put every single thing to a vote. It's going to make everything kind of go slower. You need someone that's kind of, like, leading sort of the charge. If nothing else, for when there's problems on site at the convention, during the convention, people have someone that they know that they can turn to that can make the decisions that need to be made to fix whatever quote-unquote fire has broken out or whatever problem has. So, like, if something happens where the cops are called for whatever reason, it could be something completely innocent. Like, you know, someone's walking around with a metal sword. We've told them multiple times they cannot have it. They still have it. The cops are called because they need to be escorted off-site or whatever. And, like, the cops show up, the cops need someone to talk to, right? So you need someone that's kind of be like, this is technically the person, like the top of the food chain in charge.
Charge, one you see on the panel, or
No.
the redhead?
She was the redhead.
Okay.
There was no one who had any real or substantial experience running an event like this, or really events in general. So it was no wonder that it was a disaster.
Well, most people have the sense to just start small, but they just
Yeah.
kind of went big guns straight away.
That is the problem. Like, Comic-Con started small. Comic-Con started as like a student-run project/event. So it did start really small. Like I said, like we had 460 people our first year. It was a free convention. Like our leader, Ray, lost a little bit of money on it. But like it was kind of cheap. It's completely homebrewed. You know, we brought our gaming systems for the game room. Like we pitched in our stuff, and like, you know, like we didn't have badges the first year. We just used like yarn. So that is a thing. We also were 15 years ago when things were significantly cheaper. So we were able to pull off what we did. They were trying to be in a large convention space, which costs so much money. Like, I can't even describe to you how much money it costs to be in a big convention versus like, hey, our student union is letting us rent this out for student pricing, and it's really affordable. Like, it's crazy.
You get carried away, and just started spending.
Yeah. So the next one is $65 is pretty expensive for a brand new convention. Basically, was this a mistake? Did they have any justification?
$65 for a convention that doesn't have super huge name guests is very expensive, even today. And this happened years ago. So it was definitely big ask years ago. And a thing that has happened for years is people don't trust first year conventions. They feel like they're going to get not their money's worth, so people don't buy tickets for the first year. They'll either try to ghost the convention, which is coming in and not buying a ticket and just trying to like see if it's worth it, or they'll just kind of wait and listen to what the reviews of the convention are to see if they want to go the next year. So, for example, we started Comic-Con High, the Huntsville Anime Invasion. This past year, I think our most expensive ticket was $40. Yeah, it was $40 because we're a brand new convention in Huntsville. And that's with the Comic-Con branding. Like, again, the Birmingham show's been around for 15 years in 2024. So currently we've functioned for 14. Technically 15, actually, because we had to take a year off because of the COVID. But we have a brand recognition in our state, which is Alabama. We're going an hour and a half away to another city. We still priced at a price where we lost money on that convention because it's a new convention in a new location. And people don't go to first year conventions. And they don't have a convention like us in Huntsville currently. So it's like we need to price it at a price point where we think that they'll come just to experience it or look at it, or, you know, come in and meet the person they want to meet and get the autograph or whatever. And then when they're there, they can see exactly what we have to offer. And so next year, now that there's word of mouth about us, now that they know what we're about, we can increase the price of the ticket so that we're no longer losing money. Like, that is something that we had to decide to do. $65 is really high. Like, you need to kind of figure out, like, okay, these are the expected costs that we're going to look at. What is the cheapest amount we can make tickets? And how many people do we think that we're able to bring in? Because this is ridiculous. I don't even know. I know that they were trying to bring Sing Power Giraffes, and I know they were bringing, like, Welcome to Night Vale. I don't know who else they were trying to bring guest-wise, but that is a very expensive price point for a brand new convention that's never happened.
Given as to why it would be $65, I know it was sort of a weekend kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it was a combination of greed and naive optimism.
I wonder if they just weren't like, this is how much cons I go to are, because long-standing conventions are more expensive. Sorry. And part of that is because they're a long-standing convention. They have grown to the point that they need more venue space. more hotel rooms, and they bring more content in. So I've said before, I'm just going to be talking about Comic-Con the whole time because that's my experience, right? So you come to Comic-Con, we have grown over the years. So the bigger you grow, the more space you need and the more expensive that space is. And then you also need more like guests. You have to pay your guests, and then you have to put them in hotel rooms. You need more hotel rooms. And then you also need like other experiences. So like video games, like you need the stuff for that. You need tables, you need chairs, you need technology, you need microphones and speakers and projectors and projector screens and cables. Like you need XLR cables and like, you know, power strips and all kinds of stuff. So you just need a bunch of stuff going in. Like you need video game setups, or if you want to bring in an arcade, you got to pay for that. Like you got to pay for the wrestlers if you're bringing wrestlers with a wrestling ring. Like there's a lot of cost that goes into it. And so the more, like the bigger a convention is, generally the more stuff it has, so the more it has to pay for that. And a brand new convention just doesn't have that because you don't have the money for it unless you have like someone who's cash rolling it, you know? So I really wonder if they were just like, oh no, this is how much cons cost, so this is how much we can charge, and people will pay that. People aren't going to pay that for a brand new convention, not unless you have a giant name guest like a Hollywood Marvel actor or something that's coming. Like they're not going to pay that.
Thought, oh, we know how to do this, and we'll have so many people demanding to come to this convention, and it's going to be so great because, you know, we know everything. That they thought they could justify that price. Obviously, you know, if you're going to start a new event, you've got to start small and then build up. Let a reputation build over time. People know that this is a good thing. Whatever. They didn't bother with any of that. They were just going to jump straight to this is fucking Comic-Con too.
Yeah, they kind of
Even
said
just
what I
working
said.
on quality and going, this is what we'll have. This will be the space. This will be the max number of people. Making it more exclusive and then having them give good feedback for next year.
Could you imagine how well it would have been received if they had just made a modest convention and say they had sold out of tickets, and then people know next year you got to be in quick.
Yeah. Well, that's
that is a thing. So like there are now conventions that sell out, like they reach max, especially around COVID. This was happening where they were like, we're going to limit the amount of people that we're going to have. We're going to say X amount of people tickets are going to go out, whatever. You can do that. That's okay, especially if you're trying to do something that's like brand new. You know, it could also give you could like set out like we're going to sell 3,000 tickets, and you know, maybe you don't meet that ticket requirement, like, and then, you know, if you need to, you can cancel without, you know, like, I don't know.
That's what a well thought out new convention I think would do, but greedy.
That's when you can start to jack up the price. But I think a lot of it came down to they started seeing cash coming in. They are very young, and then they would spend it, realize they're, you know, hey, we're spending a lot of money. So they'd sort of justify it to themselves, and they'll go, oh, well, more people will come, or, oh, we're going to sell out, so it's fine. Oh, yeah, okay, we're spending like $80,000, but that's okay because we'll get this amount of money with absolutely no certainty that they ever would get.
So the next one is, how do you run a convention for such a niche thing? Don't they have to be very general things? The ones I've been to are all sci-fi and anime, which I'm not sure why I included this question, because if anything, it's the complete opposite. It's like a bit of everything, but...
Yes.
So, no, there have been plenty of cons that I've not interacted with, that I know about that are very niche. There were like the Brony cons back in the day. There was a more local one to me, which was Con Castrobus, and it was specifically a Doctor Who con. It ran for 10 years before they stopped it. But they always had small numbers, and I guess budgeted for small numbers. I never went to it, but they didn't have like huge, you know, numbers that went, because like Doctor Who in freaking Alabama is that's going to be a small con. It's very niche. But again, they were able to run for 10 years before they decided to stop. And when I say they decided to stop, they stopped recently. Like, they stopped, like, last year. Like, it was really recent. It actually might have been earlier this year that they stopped. But it is possible, but you have to plan for smaller numbers. However, I don't think TumblrCon or DashCon, a convention that is about Tumblr, would be any different, really, from, say, a sci-fi or a comic con, or even like an anime convention, because it's the whole point is it's about fandoms. So, I mean, something that you can do, they definitely should have, like, scaled it down. They were expecting way more people. Like, they were expecting a decent percentage of Tumblr users to show up. First of all, your average Tumblr user, I'm pretty sure, has multiple Tumblrs. I had multiple Tumblrs. Like, I had, like, 3. Like, I had my personal one that was just, like, stupid shit. I had my cosplay one, and then I had one for literally just reblogging, like, tutorials for cosplay purposes. Like, how to do something. Like, I would reblog it to the one that's tutorial based. Like, because there was nothing keeping you from making another one. They didn't tell you to not make multiple Tumblrs. They didn't care. So everyone had, like, multiple Tumblrs anyway. So you can't even really expect, like, you have no idea what the percentage of Tumblr users are actual individual people, as opposed to, like, one people having, like, 5 different Tumblrs or something like that. Like, you get what I'm saying? So, like, they really needed to have, like, rolled back on their expectations of how many people that they really expected to show up. Especially at a $65 price point. Like, that's very high. But it should be, like, it's a fandom convention. Like, that's what it is. And I really feel like they should have maybe looked into big users on Tumblr as guests. Like, content creators on Tumblr. Like, people that are really popular that are writing maybe fan fiction or, like, doing big fan arts. That kind of thing. They probably should have looked at that for, like, their guests. Like, yes, have other things, like, Welcome to Night Vale is a perfectly fine guest. Steam Powered Giraffes, I guess. I've never heard them. I don't know what their price point is. I also don't know how popular they were on specifically Tumblr, but, why not? It's content and it's fun if they're affordable. I don't know. But yeah, like, it's just a general fandom convention. That's it. It's part of the big fandoms. Now, you could have, like, a tagline that's like DashCon, Super HulockCon, or, like, FandomCon, or, like, you could list the things that you're gonna specifically target, I guess, or show most. But it's just a general con. I'm gonna be honest. They might have, like, I think their tagline was, like, a Tumblr con or something like that, and they really should have been, like, a fandom convention or something. Any, like, advertisements they were doing should probably be like, are you a fan of these things, or something like that, just to show that it's, like, just a general fandom space.
I sort of felt it was the other way around. It was far too broad.
Yeah.
So you could have a convention for Reddit, but people go on all sorts of different subreddits, and it's a very similar thing with Tumblr, although it's all done with tags and communities and whatnot. I don't know. I don't really use it, but
so maybe I'll just take that question and go, how did they get people to come if it's such a broad thing like Tumblr?
I think they just appealed to the most stereotypical type from their community. The young girls who are really into the handsome British boys, and all the shows that go along with that, the feminist stuff, the genderqueer stuff, all that business. They really catered to with their speakers and their talks and everything else. It wasn't as though someone was suddenly going to show up, with an aliens theme or an X-Men costume or whatever. People had an understanding of what the themes of the convention would be, because they knew who was giving talks, or what other people were doing.
But I'd love to know that how they chose, because when I actually think about it, I have no idea. Like, you see people dressed up and you go, what the hell is that? And having sort of the gay, lesbian, I'm not even going to try and attempt that acronym.
I can do this one off by
I
heart.
know you can. Go ahead. But you have to say what they are too, which no one knows.
Oh, no, I know what they all are. It's LGBTQIP2SAA+.
I'll take your word for it. You could be lying and no one's going to pick you up on it because no one cares.
Lesbian, bisexual, trans, I forgot gay.
I'm going to cut this whole
Q
section.
is queer, and then the other Q is... Oh no, I forgot.
BBQ. What's that extra Q?
Q. The other Q is for questioning. I is intersex. P is penis. No, I can't. Oh fuck.
My point was, it seems completely random to have. Okay, we love these TV shows. Let's throw in some LG whatever. LGB. I'm not, okay.
LGBT.
Okay, so the reason is because the big things on Tumblr were, Super Hulock, Homestuck, My Little Pony when that was big, and then it was welcoming space for LGBT plus stuff. So, or at least it felt like it. I'm going to be honest, there's a thing that happens with a lot of social medias is you become stuck in an echo chamber. And what that means is the people that you follow and the people that follow you all have the same opinions about things. They say the same kind of things. It's just like you're bouncing back the same things over and over and over again, right? That's how most algorithms are set up for most social medias. And that kind of happened a lot on Tumblr. I weirdly don't end up in those I say that actually because I keep messing up my algorithm on Twitter. So, for example, I will look up one VTuber related thing on Twitter and all that my feed becomes is just VTuber stuff. It's another reason why I made a second one. Y'all know I want to look at my hyperfixation on Twitter. So I keep having to fix it, quote unquote. But you can become an echo chamber. So you don't get other people's views or opinions or whatever. You just get people that have the same views and opinions as you, right? So when I say I guess about how welcoming or safe space that Tumblr was for the LGBT community, I don't know because I'm welcoming to it and positive toward it or whatever. So so I didn't really see discourse about it, but I'm sure there was some. So I'm in more of a fandom space, and also I curate what I'm looking at to never understand that there's drama or be involved in the drama. There will be drama happening in whatever space whatever fandom I'm in, and I will just be unaware of it for a while. Usually until it's passed, and then someone's like, hey, so that drama that we had 3 months ago. And I'm like, what the fuck? What drama? What happened? So I'm sure there was stuff, but that's why it was big on Tumblr. So that was why they kind of had that as a big thing at TumblrCon, right? But they're not wrong. Yeah, it's really vague, but so's most fandom conventions now. Take DragonCon for example. DragonCon was a comic Dungeons and Dragons con, right? And now it has a little bit of everything, but it's also been around for how long and it's how big? It can have everything. Comic-Con was an anime only convention. Now we're anime and gaming, and we bring wrestlers because people like wrestlers, whatever. And you need variety at your conventions. Even if it's no, I'm an anime only con, I promise you have other stuff. People are going to be dressed up as Power Rangers. You're not a Sentai con, you're an anime con, but hey, there's Power Rangers here because no one cares. Like, it's fine. They're going to be dressed up as video game characters because it's fun. Like, whatever. You need variety at your convention, I believe, at least. Because people like more than one thing. There's not one person. I don't believe that there's one person that's like, the only thing I like ever is like anime and I don't care about anything else. You don't watch TV shows? You don't watch, say, other cartoon, like American cartoons? You don't listen to music in any way, shape, or form? You don't watch... And I'm sure someone's going to be like, no, I know someone like that. Like, okay. It's like you don't read manga, which is technically different, maybe. You don't read anything. You just watch anime all the time. That's all you do. And only from Japan? Like, I don't know. I'm sure there are people like that, but like, for the most part, people have a variety of interests that overlap. Like, it's fine to have other things. But yeah, I guess they probably were pretty broad, but and they didn't really explain things well. At least I don't think they did. In my memory is horrible. So like in my very horrible memory, I don't really think they explained what they were trying to do well. But every convention nowadays is kind of broad. But you do probably kind of need to start not super broad, maybe. I really think they just should have like limited the amount of stuff they were doing, or limited the amount of tickets they expected to sell. It is a problem.
Panels.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, they had in one panel guy, Mark is here, and he's
queer. He's used to it.
Yeah. Well, he was the Mexican gay dude who they thought was a straight white male talking on the panel, and they were
mean to him.
They were giving him death threats.
Jesus.
My point is, what's the thinking behind what you choose? Sex, and then TV shows, and then some guy's dressed up as the devil, and there's like Night Vale.
Because it's about Tumblr.
Like, there's
it's
a
not
BDSM panel at one point.
It's like, well, why? Because all gay and lesbian and trans and things want to do BDSM too. That's like a whole different subset of people.
Yeah.
I mean, it might intersect, but why?
Why not?
What was the actual question?
Especially if it's like, they're probably fan panels. So, we have fan panels at Comic-Con, right? I'm not part of the committee, but like, generally, fan panels are selected kind of on the, like, what it's about, of course, the uniqueness of it. If it's something that seems really fun or really well put together, etc. If someone's like, hey, I want to do a BDSM panel, and it's like introducing or safety or like whatever, and like and they sell that panel really well in their like application, and you already have adult things, and you're like, hey, maybe I want more adult content. Sure, why not? Like, whatever.
How do you run a convention? Something so niche.
You should.
Was not age... Okay, well... I don't know how to feel about, like, that it wasn't ID'd or, like, age controlled at all. I don't know how I feel about that. Because, I mean, I guess you could be like, oh, this is, like, an education-related panel only, and we're just going to talk to you. But it is kind of adult-themed. So, okay.
yeah, that's right. I think if you're going to run a convention, make it fucking specific.
Yeah, make it niche. Next question is, steam-powered giraffe is there?
No, never. They never even signed an agreement to show up. Although that didn't stop DashCon from advertising it on all of its marketing material.
Yeah, you know why? Okay. We have this whole thing at Comic-Con. Again, I'm sorry. But, like, we tell people and our staff, like, we like to let our staff people know what we're doing. And it's just like, hi, we're in conversation with this person, okay? Calais Bear. we're in conversation with Kali Bear. We do not have Kali Bear signed. We currently do, but we don't have him signed. So don't tell anybody. But that's, someone that we're looking into. So that's like a secret, right? So we tell people that, and I'm like, if you tell, I tell the staff members, I was like, if you tell anybody about this and it gets out that we have this person before we have them signed, there's a possibility that something happens and we can't sign them. Like maybe suddenly they're doing voice acting that weekend, or they have a family thing that weekend or something, and they're not coming because we don't have them signed on contract yet. So you can't tell anybody. And if you tell people, 100% I'm going to figure it out. Like I'm going to know, and I'm going to lead it back to you because I've done it multiple times. Trust me, I will find out. So don't tell anybody outside of the club, and then or outside of staff. And then if you keep doing it, we can't tell you things. We can't tell you what we're working on, because sometimes we'll be like, hey, staff members, do you know this person? Or do you know this musical act? Or would you be excited for this? And depending on the reaction we get, sometimes we look further into getting that person, musical act, whatever. And it's like, we can't ask you if you're going to tell people oh, we're going to get this person. Not necessarily. We've definitely been in talks with people that there's been a few people that we were in talks with for years, and every year they couldn't come to us. And it was so, it just happens. So I assume they were like, oh, we're going to get steam-powered giraffe. And so they started announcing steam-powered giraffe without that contract signed, because they just thought that was going to work out, and it just didn't. Which is not great. You should not do that. If there's not a contract signed, you should not be announcing people.
And charging extra fees for tickets to the concert. Steam-powered giraffe never showed up and never agreed. Oh, shit.
They were charging extra fees for a concert when they didn't have them on contract? That is fucked up.
To go.
I was going to say, which is the first sort of point where you go, they could sue you for using their material and saying that they'll show up. Because then it looks like they haven't shown up to something, and that's sort of defamatory. And there's so many things these people should have been sued for, especially in America.
Well, every time something went wrong, they immediately deflected blame onto someone else. But it wasn't just that. It was no one knew that steam-powered giraffe wasn't coming until people showed up on the day. And then they would go, oh, right, I'm ready for my steam-powered giraffe concert. I've been excited for weeks. And then they go, oh, sorry, it's cancelled. Anyway, the ball gets over there. And that was
I feel like there was a time where steam-powered giraffe was we're not, no, we're not going to this. I feel like that happened. I could be wrong, though.
So that sort of also leads on to, I think, who did show up that they said would show up, which ended up being no one, I guess.
Yeah.
So Welcome to Night Vale showed up.
Technically showed up.
And they actually fulfilled about half of their contract. Oh, not, they didn't have a proper contract. But they fulfilled half.
Incorrect. I feel like. So if there's payment involved, there is a contract. So they're saying oh, there wasn't a contract. There was a contract. Welcome to Night Vale had a contract with the runners of DashCon. They had to have. And if not, they shouldn't have been there at all. So, especially if you're they filled half of their obligations. So half of their obligations is listed in their contract. So the issue, right, is that their part of the contract was getting fulfilled, but DashCon's wasn't, which is payment. So they left, which is fair. DashCon broke contract. They should absolutely get out of there.
Off of their act.
Hi, Blizzard.
So on the Friday, they were supposed to come in and do signings for these 100 people who had won a raffle sort of arrangement. And they went in and they did that, and they hadn't even received payment at that point. They were supposed to receive the funds well in advance, but that's DashCon management for you.
That's happened to other first-year conventions too.
Yeah.
Like that's why you have a manager, is to get a contract and agreement. That's probably why they couldn't sue, is if they didn't have an actual contract and they've just gone, yeah, buddy.
You know, I'm going to be honest. How much money do you think Welcome to Night Vale and their manager is going to be able to get from these DashCon people? Is it worth the legal fees? Are they going to be able to get money from them? Probably not. So the contract is there, but like it's kind of hard to enforce. And because like for the most, it's there for safety for all involved, right? But for the most part, the legal fees aren't worth whatever it is, if that makes sense. Like, I mean, I guess if you have a lot of money to throw around for legal fees and it's just like, no, I'm going to teach them a lesson and I'm fine with being in a legal battle for a while, that's just going to eat up money and I'm never going to like actually get anything from it other than, I guess, revenge or vengeance or something. I don't know. But like, yeah. Gillix, hello. But so I don't really think that Welcome to Night Vale wanted to go through the issue, because like I'm sure what they would have wanted is like, hey, I want you to at least cover my hotel room, my flights, whatever, like you were supposed to anyway. Is the cost of the legal fees worth getting what is a relatively small amount of money? So like, is it worth it? Probably not.
Yeah. You know, these aren't huge acts. So some of these things they consider as just binding through emails or something else. Or they have a lot of goodwill.
I guess you could do that.
So they think if someone says, oh, look, I'll pay you on this date, you know, as soon as you arrive at the convention, we will pay you.
I wonder, like, does the internet historian know for a fact that there wasn't a contract involved? Because like I said, like, even if there's a contract involved, if you're just like, the legal fees aren't worth it for this small amount of money if I get anything, and then if they could just declare bankruptcy and then just, what you're going to do, right? You're out the legal fees. So, I don't know.
Although you can find out how much it was, I think it's a bit unfair for me to say.
Maybe.
We will pay you X amount in cash the moment you show up. And then they just don't. You know, how can you prevent that happening sometimes?
I mean, there is like
Especially
certain states that will take stuff like that. Like there's verbal contracts, right? And then there's like some states that will take that as a contract, like that email chain as kind of like a contract. Like, hey, I agree to, you know, for you doing this raffle signing on Friday and then doing a live reading on Saturday, I agree to pay you X amount of dollars. Like that could be considered in some states a contract. Especially that's agreed upon or whatever, but it's still like the issue with why they didn't sue them is because is it worth it at the end of the day? And how much will that contract, whether it's an email chain or actual physical contract or a verbal contract or whatever, how much is that going to stand up in court or stand up in law? And again, bottom line, is it worth it? Which generally, in this case, I don't think it would be.
Yes, and seeing people who are excited, you don't want to be that jerk who's like, well, we're not getting paid for this, so we're out. But,
yeah,
you know, you still have to feed yourself too. And didn't they stopped a European tour just to be there?
Yeah, so it was absolutely shocking.
That's
so,
crazy.
They
might have interrupted a tour.
They cancelled that halfway through so that they could come back to the United States and do this convention. So
wild.
They get
Why?
To the
That's
convention.
dumb.
They are supposed to be paid in cash the moment they show up, and they're supposed to be given a complimentary room, I think food as well, and they're supposed to have all their travel expenses reimbursed.
Which from Europe to America, I don't know about.
Why would they completely cancel a tour halfway through to come to a first-year convention where they're not getting paid beforehand. Like, I know they expected to get paid when they land. That's not what I'm talking about. I mean, like, why would they do that? It feels like that tour wasn't very successful. Maybe. Because I don't understand why you would do that. Like, that's weird to me. That you would have a tour in another country that you have set up dates for, that you have set up, I'm going to be at this venue on this day in this country or this city or whatever. That sounds really weird. Like, just to cancel that, because, like, those venues, a lot of times venues, you have to reserve it and you have to put money down to reserve that venue. So I'm like, your tour tickets not selling? Like, that's really weird to me, if that's true, that they canceled a tour halfway through just to fly back. Like, maybe I would maybe think, like, okay, one city didn't meet their ticket requirement, so we're going to cancel that. We're going to fly back. We're going to do this convention, and then we're going to fly back and restart our tour, right? Maybe. Like, especially if the money's worth it and, like, your travel costs, which is like I don't know. I go to Japan, and it's, like, over $1,000. So, like, and I know you can get cheap. I've definitely gotten cheaper tickets, like, going to, like, when I went to France and stuff. But, like, you know, that's at least a few $100s. So, you know, oh, no skin off our back, because they're going to pay us to show up, and they're going to pay for our lodging, and they're going to pay for our plane tickets. And, you know, maybe this one city, or maybe we have a break or whatever, we can do this. It would be really weird if they canceled a tour. If they canceled a tour, that tour could not have been doing well. Because it doesn't make sense to me otherwise. I don't know
how expensive it would be, but certainly from Europe to Australia is a lot. I know they're closer, but it's still it's a long trip.
And there's a few of them too. It's not like there's two people. It's
there's like six
or seven, I think, including the management.
Jeez.
So yeah, these aren't unsubstantial amounts.
I thought only two of them showed up.
When they actually show up.
I could be wrong.
So they do their signing on the Friday, fulfill that obligation without pay. They should have been paid already. They stay in the hotel room, and I think they only get like 1 or 2 hotel rooms when they need more. So there's people sleeping on couches. It's it's ridiculous. And then I know one of them sleeps in atrocious conditions.
Usually a hotel only allows a certain number of people per room, and they'll like give you a cot or something.
Babe, as someone who has been in the con community for 15 years, people cram into hotel rooms. I've never been one of those people. Like, I need peace and quiet and space, and I cannot cram a whole bunch of people into the same hotel room that I'm in. I cannot do it. I'm a little bougie like that, I'll be honest with you. But, like, I have definitely had friends that would cram, like, 8 people into a hotel room, or I feel like 8 to 10 people. So, like, yeah, hotels will be like, hi. How do you say your name? Hello. I see your joke. But, like, definitely, like, hotels will be like, oh, this room is a max of these amount of people, but, like, people no, like, con culture, you're putting a bunch of people, especially if you're younger, before you have, like, a job. You definitely put a bunch of people in a hotel room. So yeah, like the hotels will try to charge you for more than the amount of people that they say you can have, but people cram people in hotel rooms. Like, I'm not talking about guests, but I am talking about just like con goers.
I don't think they'd actually let.
Yeah, they were all full up. They were all full up on that.
Especially like the Marriott, like.
Yeah.
When you book a hotel room, there's a max per room.
Yeah.
That way they get more room sales. So unless they snuck someone in, which is easy.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I remember, but some of them were sleeping in atrocious conditions. So when they did arrive on that Friday, by the way, the DashCon staff took them to the front desk and they put the DashCon credit card at the front desk, saying, "Hey, look, here, this is all comped, no problem." The Saturday, go on.
I was just picturing like a piece of cardboard with scribbled on DashCon.
They have the event on Saturday that's coming up, and the management is still saying, "We'll get the cash to you soon. We'll get the cash to you soon. Yeah, we'll reimburse you. We'll reimburse you." Then, like 1 o'clock happens when the fucking event's supposed to start. They still haven't paid, and so Welcome to Night Vale goes, "Well, we're not complete fucking suckers."
Is that? It started at 1 o'clock on a Saturday? Like, I know it was like a 3-day con and they had stuff on Friday. They just talked about, like, they showed up on... Okay, anyway, whatever.
We're not going to do this and then be promised to be paid afterwards when you've fulfilled none of your obligations so far. Mm-hmm. So they said, you get the cash to us now before we go on stage, or we walk. And because of the event the night before, where they had to raise $17,000 and most of it involved cash they had on hand, they couldn't pay them, and they couldn't go to the bank for some reason, apparently.
Because it was the weekend.
Welcome to Night Vale walked. Everybody's disappointed. And then when Welcome to Night Vale checks out of the hotel, surprise, surprise, someone has pulled the credit card from the front desk. So they get...
Which is wild to me, that they pulled the credit card, because that means they had to contact the hotel and be like, these rooms have my credit card on them. I need you to take that credit card off. And the fact that the hotel did that without another credit card to put on is also weird. Because usually they'll be like, do you have a different credit card to put on it? If not, this one's staying on there. Like, that's weird to me too. I don't know.
Bumped with the bill. I think it's also important to mention that it wasn't just Welcome to Night Vale who had this sort of trouble. The Baker Street Babes were also left out in the cold with all of their expenses.
Have a good night, DB.
They threatened to sue on Twitter. It's not entirely confirmed whether they received their hotel expenses back from the organisers. Yeah, so I think they were fairly level-headed, and they tried to be as good about it as anyone could be. But you'd be fucking fuming. So online, everyone knows what's happened. And the DashCon people are really getting shit on. And the people from Welcome to Night Vale showed an enormous amount of patience with them. But exactly what happened at the convention happened to them in the aftermath as well. So they would say, yeah, look, we're really sorry about what happened, but we do owe you reimbursement for XYZ travel expenses, yada, yada, yada. And then they would just never pay it. And it was like every day they were supposed to be sent this money, and they just kept not paying it. And after a while, they were getting pretty fucking fed up. So they were on Twitter and they were like, this is a con. This is fraud.
My guess is unless they were going to say, we're going to sue you, or here's some papers, or then you'd go, oh shit, they're serious. But otherwise, they have no claim, really.
Yeah.
That's why you have contracts.
The problem is a lot of these amounts are just so small that you can't do anything. It's still their livelihood, but they're small amounts. And I tell you, one of the things they did pay for in their expenses was a lawyer. And so a lot of this stuff, they could just say to their contract lawyer, how much trouble are we really in?
You mean the DashCon people
The DashCon people had a lawyer.
Really?
Yeah.
Did he do anything?
Apparently.
Didn't draw up any contracts or anything?
Well, they didn't get sued.
Okay, so that leads pretty well into the next question.
But what kind of lawyer did they have? Like, did they have a copyright lawyer? Like, did they have there's different lawyers for different things. So, I mean, good on them, I guess. Good on that lawyer. I don't know.
Anyone sue the convention? Because it seems like that's something someone must have done.
No, there was no lawsuit. I think we're still talking in amounts that are just too small to be worthwhile. Yeah. I think in total, the expenses for the entire
like, the convention center, the convention center and the hotel, if they don't get their money, they're going to pester you about it, and then they're going to send you to collections. Like, they're going to quote unquote sell your debt at a discount to a collection service, and that collection service isn't going to contact you to get the money. So like the venues, whatever, they're not gonna sue you. That's not worth their time. Like if you don't pay them, that's not worth their time. So what you have to consider, and that's like that venue level, I guess. So that's, for your space rental, if you had a third party company that you had to pay for power or internet or whatever, that's how they deal with it. The people that would possibly sue you are your guests, right? So like it's the guests that you didn't pay, or I guess maybe your congoers, I don't know, but like your guests. So that's probably not enough money to warrant, again, the lawsuit and the lawyer fees or the law fees. Like,
Eventually,
just saying.
probably less than $100,000. Lawyers' fees for something like this could easily top that.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I think
what
the
do you
only
do?
person who was going to sue them, if it came to it, would have been the Marriott if they hadn't have paid their bill,
Nope.
because they had a contract. 40 grand
They
is
send
a
it to
lot of money,
collections.
Yeah, you bet they would have collected.
but everyone else, it's just not worth their time.
Yeah, what are a bunch of kids going to do anyway?
Yeah. Next question is pretty much the same as the last question, really. Why haven't they been charged with fraud? I think that's more to do with the donations and I forget what the charity was called, but the fact that they said
Random Acts.
Random Acts. They said that they had a partnership with Random Acts, but they didn't.
So they can claim a partnership. They can claim that when they said a partnership, they didn't understand that did not mean them giving money to them. Like, because they could be like, well, we said partnership. We just thought that meant like an understanding of I'm going to give X amount of the funds that we receive to this charity. Like, so like I'm ensuring that I'm giving the money to that charity. So I'm calling it a partnership so you know where that money is going. I didn't know. I was unaware that doesn't mean that I'm in a part. Like they could claim ignorance on what partnership necessarily means in that situation, I guess. So, yeah.
presumably Random Acts never got any money, even if it was donated, but we don't really know what was donated.
That's right. So I think there's only really two cases where you can say it's fraud. So fraud has a fairly specific legal definition. It's not as though they didn't hold a convention.
They did.
They held an extraordinarily shitty convention. The two things that could be deliberate acts of fraud were the steam-powered giraffe, still having that on their marketing materials, although that could just be misleading marketing, and then the charity Random Acts, if they really did just collect that money. They have enough of an excuse, though, for the charity, in that they did fill out the online form, but they certainly didn't have any recognized partnership with them, and it is not known whether a single penny went to the charity, although it is known that some of the donations, some donations were made. So where that money's gone, it might only be a few $100, it might even be less. No one knows. But
even
it was
if they
in
just
cash,
gave
so it's
$1,
impossible
they
to
could just
track
be like,
anyway.
hey, I gave something.
Random Acts, by the way, it's just like you have a couple of these bins around the place, and you do random acts of kindness. So you just put in cash when you see them if you feel like it. But of course, no one has any cash left because they just donated.
So there's no
Maybe they
way to
went,
know
okay,
that.
The random act of kindness today is going to be paying our fees so we can get our patrons some actual content. It doesn't actually say what the random act will be.
Yeah.
Did the organizers really walk out without any consequences at all? I don't think there were real consequences, though. I think they were anonymous enough that they just were shunned in the Tumblr community. So what?
Well, yes and no. I mean, they were all over the bloody news too.
Were they?
There were tons of articles written about the failure of DashCon.
Yeah.
So
I don't know what he's about to say. I remember that after DashCon, there was some other convention that was, somebody that was involved in DashCon was like, oh, we're going to do this. And like, it was all over Tumblr. Like, this is the same person that was in charge of DashCon, or they were involved with DashCon. This is a scam. Don't go there. And that never happened. The other convention never happened. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know if anything went to collections, so certain people might have been harassed, or that's not something that anyone's could know. So who knows?
You imagine that you're 18, 19, 20, and people are just shitting on you for weeks.
Yeah, but people forget.
I don't think
People
they
do forget.
You don't talk about it because it's still old. But if someone says DashCon, it still brings a whole lot of things to mind. And if someone ever said, oh yeah, I was one of the organizers of DashCon, and then they said, hey, I heard you guys are at a convention coming up. Do you mind if I help out? You go, fuck off.
I have experience. Does anyone know where I can find the full video of the guy trolling DashCon? So the apparently very anti-Semitic guy who filmed all the good
I
footage.
don't like that.
Yeah.
Which I don't know is a joke or...
No, it's all a joke.
He's kidding. Okay.
Yeah, no. I actually linked to his channel in the description, so you can find it there. But it's not in one video. It's actually all broken into lots of little pieces, so you might have a little bit of trouble tracking it down, but you'll be able to find it there on his channel.
Cool.
He's a fucking funny dude. He's on the Discord sometimes as well, so feel free to jump in.
Did someone actually piss in the ball pit?
It's not confirmed. So the story goes, because you can't just sit there and piss yourself in the pit. It's not going to work. You can't just whip your dick out. So the story is that a couple of people from 4chan went to the convention. Apparently the modus operandi was that they went to the bathroom with a water bottle, pissed into the water bottle, and then when they went into the ball pit with it, it was like, oh, just sort of let it leak out in the corner. But it's not entirely confirmed. It is known that the ball pit deflated. It is known that by Sunday they didn't even bother trying to bring it back. Who knows? But
Doesn't an MO... Sorry, just for clarity. An MO is something done several times. So what's the guy's MO? That's what I thought. It had to be sort of a serial thing.
Don't care.
How many things has he pissed in this manner?
I don't know.
It's his usual style. Yeah, okay.
I mean, imagine.
Did you ever find the DVD? This gets asked on different videos.
Oh god,
this was
every day.
I think I took 13 screenshots of this question and then I just stopped because they all just asked it. Go ahead.
No.
Yeah,
So
I expected that.
It's hard to get confirmation either way, but the most likely outcome is that it was never made.
Probably not.
After they saw what kind of disaster it was, what was the point in making
It was
this
probably something that was going to be made post convention, and so they probably didn't make the damn thing. Like, why would you if it was this bad of a situation? And if you're looking at a situation where you're like, this isn't going to happen again, we're not going to have a year two. Like, we're not going to have a year two because this is a disaster. What would you make the post credit thing?
That being said,
jeez.
Here's what we do have. There was a photography studio that was going to be hired for the making of the DVD. That was already organized, and we know the name of that photography studio.
They were gonna hire... they weren't gonna homebrew that shit and just do it themselves? They hired somebody for that? Bruh. Y'all don't got... How much money do these people expect to make? Because, like, what?
We also know that there are many cameramen working with many cameras in different places throughout the convention. So a lot of the panels were recorded.
Same?
That footage, that raw footage, exists somewhere out there.
So... yes, no, maybe. And I say that because, like, Comic-Con records a lot of things. We don't really record panels. Like, we might come into a panel and record crowds and record some of the panel content just for just footage that we can throw into different videos and stuff. but a lot of it isn't actually used, and a lot of it's not actually usable. Like, so it's like film a lot of stuff, take a lot of pictures, and, you know, at the end of the day, the people that are making like little videos are going to scrub all these like the commercials or whatever, are going to scrub through these many videos and many pictures and find the things that work or that look good or that I need for XYZ reasons. I bought a gimbal for my phone so I could take 1x1 video at high. So Daniel is our director that makes our videos, and he sets up the announcement stuff for me to edit to make announcements for Comic-Con. And he basically made our website, and then I just go in there and edit things every once in a while, but he does most of it. So I went through with this gimbal, taking 1x1 video of stuff at high, so we could post things on TikTok and not Tumblr, shit, Instagram. And then he took a video that already existed and was like, I just cropped this one, we'll just use this. And I was like, okay. So, like, the videos that I shot ended up not being used because we just cropped existing video that's in a 9x16 format or whatever. So, like, you know, and we have a whole media team, and like for High specifically, they were much smaller. Their team was much smaller, but we have like 1 or 2 people that are always filming something. We've got some people that are doing like vertical filming for vertical shots for like TikTok or whatever. And like we have people that are going around taking pictures, and they're all in-house, and a lot of them they don't get used because they're doing it so I have footage for advertisement purposes, and they're specifically for advertisement purposes, and like you don't need all of it. And some of it, I'm gonna be honest, like you think it looks good, and then you blow it up and you watch it on a screen and it doesn't look good. Like it's maybe shaky, or like the lighting is bad, or like whatever. So they could have very easily just been like, just delete all this, because why would we use it? I don't know if that still exists. I don't know if the cameras were running 24/7, because like that's a lot. Like, I don't know if they just set up the cameras and had someone like buy the cameras to make sure no one messed with the cameras, and then just filmed certain parts of certain panels or like whatever.
Unedited, unprocessed, but still probably thoroughly entertaining. So the bounty goes unclaimed. I'm happy to double it to $200. And if someone can find a couple of hours of good raw footage,
hours,
I'll be happy to pay it. You can see some of the people who had cameras in the original Friday video, which is when they're asking for the $17,000. There's like 5 people up on the stage standing around there with cameras. A lot of them were recording the panels as well. So we know it exists. We don't know where it is. The DVD itself, never produced. Someone got in touch with me on YouTube and claimed to have been in a relationship with one of the main organizers of the event. And they described in some detail some of the mismanagement of the convention itself and why things went so poorly. And to sum it up, as soon as they started receiving money, they started spending it. So just extraordinary financial mismanagement. They would book hotel rooms for themselves on little trips for no reason whatsoever, pretending as though it was a business expense. They would have expensive lunches where they would get together and try to organize things, but you don't need to do that.
So Daniel's also a director, so there's 3 directors, I guess, like whatever. when we have meetings with Daniel, first of all, he doesn't live near me and Ray, so a lot of times our meetings are like over like Discord or whatever. But a lot of times when we go do meetings, sometimes we'll meet up to eat, depending, or like sometimes when we go visit Daniel, like it ends up being a meeting. But like sometimes like we'll all pay for our own food and plan things. Or, you know, a lot of times like, you know, Ray or I will pay for it using our credit cards. Like and like the whole, oh, we're gonna get hotel rooms at other places for business expense. If you're like doing fan tables at other conventions, I've mentioned is a way to advertise for word of mouth. Like I could see that. Like I'm going to this other convention, I'm going to put down like travel fees and hotel stays as a business expense because I'm here specifically to advertise my convention at this other convention. So I don't know if that's what he's trying to kind of say, or if it's just like, oh, we just use the money to go on little trips. Like, I don't know. I do have sleepovers at Daniel's because he lives somewhere else. So when I go visit, and like sometimes I'll just go to that city for different reasons. And he's like, yeah, you can stay over so you don't have to get a hotel room, which is always nice. And I extend the same thing to him, but he's allergic to my house because of my cats. And there's a lot of other people in town that he ends up staying with that he sees significantly less than he sees me. So, but like we both have like guest rooms. So, you know, I do have sleepovers though. It's less of a sleepover because like when I think of sleepover, I think about when the wives, Abby and Ricey, slept over and we slept in my living room on all my bean bags and my couch and stuff. And we were up late watching different movies and stuff. It's not really what happens when I go visit Daniel.
A couple of them were paying themselves a small salary. They were just spending too much on things that didn't matter, especially for a first-time convention. So they must have spent well over $1,000 just on things like the VIP lanyards and wristbands and access paraphernalia, you know, the stuff you wear on you.
Yeah.
So as someone who is running a convention, you're allowed to pay yourself. Like, you're putting a lot of blood, sweat, tears, whatever, into this convention. You're allowed to pay yourself. But it really feels like they expected a huge amount of people. And I assume, I don't remember where this happened, but I assume that they're nearby very large conventions that these people probably go to. And so they were probably expecting, oh, this convention gets X tens of thousands of people. We can expect to also get X tens of thousands of people. And the ticket price for that convention is, say, $70. So we can be $65 and people will pay that. And we're going to be rolling in money. Babes, your first year convention, you're not going to be rolling in money. You're going to lose money. Like, you're just going to lose money. So, you can't be, like, spending all that money and, like, playing around, you know? Like, you really should have, like, tried to see if you can't get, like... I can't even really say this. I'm not good at getting sponsorships like this. I'm not. Like, we don't get them. But, like, something. Like, if you're like, oh, VIP. Your VIP thing could be like, hey, you get to come and have a little meet and greet with our guests or something. I don't know. Give them a water bottle. I don't like. You're apparently spending too much money on your VIP package.
Yeah, to make sure you can get in. When, you know, a stamp or a ticket would do, but they wanted to be fancy.
I'm gonna get it,
but by the time the convention happened, they had no fucking money, and you know they probably intended to have a pretty impressive ball pit, and they had already booked out the bouncy castle beforehand, so they did have that, but they went, we got $20. what do we do? How do we create this ball pit? Jump down to Walmart, get a couple bags of balls, and an inflatable pool. Yeah, sounds good.
But it didn't even look like a new pool. It looked like
That
something
was
they had brought
not.
from home.
No, it didn't. Jesus Christ. That was definitely something that they rented or someone had that they bought like from a rental place or something. Like that is not a normal little, I mean, it was small, but like that's not, I have never seen something like that outside of a freaking rental place. I mean, I guess they could have like possibly bought it online somewhere, but like their little ball pit thing was not just like, oh, it's a little blow up pool from Walmart. No, that's not where that came from. I don't know where the fuck that came from, but it didn't come from Walmart. I don't know. So I'll give them, it probably came from wherever the fuck the bouncy castle that I think got a hole in it or something came from. Like from whatever fucking rental place.
Some balls in it.
Yeah,
they look
from
gross.
someone's yard.
Yeah.
Found in a swamp, just floating around.
Yeah. But just a disclaimer on that. We've never verified this person. It just seemed like he had a lot of detail I thought was interesting to mention, but there's no way of knowing if any of that is true.
Yeah, I know the guy's name as well.
It could just be complete BS because he saw the video and wanted to, why would he reach out? But I could see that happening, but speculation.
Well, he reached out because he wanted to correct some things. So he also disputed some of the numbers that I came to at the end of the video, which I think is fair to say. So one question that I wanted to address that we haven't got written down here is a lot of people said, and this drove me nuts, 350 times 20 is not 700, it's 7,000. And I know that, but it also says in the video, 10% of the people in this room. So I calculated the room is 350 people, and about 10% of that room, so 10% of 350 is 35 people. So 35 people, we think, donated cash.
That's why I didn't want to address it, because my thought is if it's answered in the video, I'm not going to address it.
I get that I talk quickly, though, that sometimes the music can be a little loud. Yeah.
Because most people go,
It's just,
you see that.
So many people said it. That being said, there may have been more cash donations than that. Okay, what does that really mean? They might have not have pocketed 9,000, they might have only pocketed 5,000 or something. But it still means they pocketed thousands of dollars. The online donations that were given is how they received most of their money. And they were able to do that because not just the people in the room were giving via PayPal, but people online were giving by PayPal. That's how they were able to raise so much money so quickly. Because everyone's watching on Tumblr, people are watching on Twitter, and they go, oh fuck, we got to help these people out, this is our community. That's before they really understand how bad this thing is and how much it is the management's fault.
Some people just want to watch the world burn.
Here's a little tidbit. The management is always blaming someone else. And they said, of the hotel staff, the reason that the convention was going to be shut on the Saturday and the Sunday wasn't because they hadn't paid the $20,000 that was owed by contract, but because they were racist, sexist, homophobes. And, they had it in for the guests there. So they just wanted more money. And it was just such an absolute lie. And it was also one of the reasons why people donated so much, because they saw it as fighting
hate
bigotry
crime.
or something.
No, as if they care what the convention is.
Yeah.
They let you have BDSM stuff. They don't care.
They don't
I'm
give a
sure they
fuck.
hold all sorts of weird shit there.
Generally, I found out that, like, generally, the venue is just, like, kind of what they care, but they care more in the, are you doing something that is going to possibly physically damage our venue? Or are you going to at least keep whatever you're doing contained to wherever it is? Or is this going to be a liability in some way? The people that care more is whoever you get your insurance from. So you got to be careful with what you call things due to your event insurance company.
But they want the money for it.
Yeah.
These convention places will book a BDSM convention next to a wedding. They don't care.
Yeah. Marriott's hosted adult convention.
Yeah.
So, yes and no. There are certain conventions out there that have a not great name. In the fact that, like, I guess one went really badly in some way, shape, or form, where, like, a venue was damaged, they didn't get the money, they weren't paid, it was a nightmare in various ways, whatever. And so, like, word gets around, right? So there are some venues that will be like, I refuse to host X thing. X type of event, I will not hold it. Based on this, you have to go somewhere else. So some venues care in different ways, depending on like the history of that company interacting with things, I guess. And I don't want to name any names, but like that is so that is a thing. But for the most part, like something like a fandom convention, like whatever. You know, I think this venue maybe hosted another convention, so I could be wrong, but I think it did. And so they're like, oh, okay, so you're like this thing. That's fine. But,
And if you've got a contract, you just go, well, you can't do that, and here you go.
Stupid.
Yeah, it was an out-and-out lie. And I thought, actually, that was probably the most egregious thing in some ways, because they were smearing the name of the hotel, when actually the hotel had really given them a break by saying, hey, look, we'll do this verbal agreement, you can pay us over the weekend.
That's all the questions I sort of found about DashCon. Did you want to say anything else?
I mean, Comic-Con's had, like, the Home and Garden Show happening at the same time. The Home and Garden Show was really fun when they happened at the same time as Comic-Con, because, like, you'd have all these people walking around in costumes, and then you'd have, like, older couples walking around, like, what's happening? Where am I? Where's the Home and Garden Show? And it's like, oh, you need to go to... This was before we had North Hall, too. Like, we were just in East. And we're like, oh, you need to go to North Hall. You can get there this way, blah, blah, blah. And then some of them would come back and we're like, so can we buy tickets to your show? Your show looks fun, too. They were really sweet. It was really cute. But, yeah, most times the venues have other things happening, especially if you're in, like, a convention center. There's always shit going on in a convention center. Like, we take up all of East and most of North exhibit halls and some of the North meeting spaces. But, you know, there's the concert hall, there's the arena, there's the theater, there's South Hall, there's... I don't think they have a West Hall. But, like, there's other things going on in there. So... and just different parts of the facility. So you'll, like, run into people from all kinds of... We've had, like, dance recital things happening. Like, you know, always happening. Oh, hi, Law. Yeah, this is my booba tuber. But yeah, this is my new one. This is the one that I do for watch-alongs now.
Yeah, actually. Was there another attempt at a DashCon? Yes.
Really?
There was nearly a DashCon 2015.
DashCon 2.
Oh. Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah. So essentially what happened was I think there was a small profit, and the people who owned DashCon LLC decided, look, let's give this
That's why they have a lawyer.
Despite the enormous backlash. But they were smart enough to realize that they couldn't just do the exact same thing. Yeah. So they changed the state and tried to hide their identity.
Yeah, I remember that.
When they started the second DashCon.
I thought they changed the name.
Still called DashCon?
Yes, in the very beginning. Immediately they started getting death threats.
Look at that little mermaid.
Where's my fucking money?
Where's my fucking
So they went, oh, fuck, okay. We'll call it EmojiCon.
Yeah.
No, it gets better. Don't you worry. The exact...
Yeah, here, I'll show you my model real quick. I'm cut off. This is my model. I've got absolute territory. Look at that. Yeah. But yeah, there you go. Ooh. You're welcome. I'm here for it.
Exact same thing happened as the beginning with the Indiegogo campaign. EmojiCon is already a trademarked thing. You can't just take that.
Is it really?
Is it?
Yeah.
Like the word emoji is trademarked?
EmojiCon is, for sure.
I didn't know that.
So they changed the name to Emoticon, which sounds like something out of fucking Metal Gear Solid. And they said it in, I can't remember, I think it was New Mexico?
Everyone does their second round of these things in New Mexico, it seems.
Like a, different part of the country. People realized that it was still the same people involved, and again, they received a bunch of death threats and what the fuck are you doing? They still started their Indiegogo campaign. They're still receiving angry emails. They started selling tickets.
Did they get any money on Indiegogo?
They got, yes, they got a little bit of money from Indiegogo, and they sold a couple of pre-sale tickets, and then they went, nah, fuck this. This isn't going to work. And they shut it all down.
But did they return the money for the tickets they sold?
Absolutely not.
Probably not.
So they liquidated the company. DashCon LLC ceased to exist in 2015, and they sold all of their furniture on Craigslist and all that sort of stuff.
Was there anything to liquidate from the company? Like, did the company own anything? Like, legitimately? I mean, what did they have to liquidate? Did they have, like, just the name DashCon? Like, okay, I don't know. I don't know anything about liquidating a company, so I haven't had to do that, so.
And,
what do you mean?
They haven't held a convention since.
They sold their furniture.
Oh, no, like, they didn't go homeless or anything.
Oh.
Well, sorry, what I mean is, sometimes you end up not renting everything, you buy things, or you...
Oh, you
whatever.
mean like maybe they got an office or
Yeah, like, no, you end up with like a bunch of assets sometimes left over after a convention.
Did these people buy any of their equipment? Why? So, I own a lot of sound equipment because of Comic-Con. Like, I own a lot of speakers, subwoofers, mini fridges, freaking PCs, speaker cables and audio mixers and microphones and stuff like that. I still don't own enough to fully, like, I don't own enough to fully outfit my convention, so I do end up renting a bunch of stuff. But, like, why? What things did they own? And why didn't they just rent everything? Or borrow it? Because there's definitely a thing, like, don't buy what you can rent and don't rent what you can borrow is definitely, like, and don't borrow what you can find on the street, I guess, is definitely, like, a early con motto, I guess, where it's like try to homebrew things as much as possible and spend the least amount of money, especially as a new con. So there's definitely times when I have gotten frustrated with my rental house for various reasons, to where I'm like, okay, you're going to give me a different light operating board every single year that uses different programs every single year so that my lighting guy can't do what he wants to do with my lighting board. So we're not getting the maximum amount of showmanship in our live performance room. So after years of this, because it's just like he would be like, okay, what lighting board did they give me? They gave me this, and I'm gonna go look up a bunch of tutorials and train on this lighting board that they gave me. And then the next year they would give a different lighting board because they would give us what they had, and they were also renting out to other people. So sometimes they didn't have that one when we were renting. So they would give him another one, and he was like, okay, well, I just learned all this other stuff for this new lighting board, and this is not what they gave me. So I rinse and repeat. And finally, I just bought him one. I was like, fuck it. Like, here's a new lighting board. Here's a lighting board. Learn how to use this. Like, the program is apparently free, I guess, to use, but you have to use it with that lighting board, so that's they sell the lighting board. But I was like, here's the lighting board. Learn how to use this. Here it is. This is what you're going to use forever until it breaks. Like, so, I mean, but we've been running for 15 years. Like, bruh, I still rent, like, cameras and shit. Like, I still rent almost, not everything. The grand majority of the stuff in my live room is stuff that is rented. Like, the speakers and stuff. Like, 1 or 2 might be mine, but for the grand majority, it's all from a rental house. And then, like, my breakout rooms, my smaller rooms will have the speakers that I own in them. Why would you... Please tell me they didn't fucking buy audio equipment for this show. Like, Jesus, why? When you have enough of giant husky of painter's tape. I do buy a lot of tape every year. I buy so much tape every single year, but different kinds of tape even. But like, I hope they didn't buy audiovisual equipment. I mean, I guess that is something that's fairly easy to liquidate if they did, because people will buy that secondhand. Even if it's just a little bit of a discount, people will invest in that. Like, oh, Jesus. Specifically, I don't know why, projectors are super expensive. Like, and they just continue to be expensive. It blows my mind. Like, good projectors are crazy. Like, it's upsetting. So, especially if they bought, like, decent projectors, which, I mean, that could be what sucked up all their funds if they were buying, like, good projectors for whatever reason. Like, you can buy some affordable ones, and they're fine, and they will get a job done, depending on what the job you want is. But, like, good projectors are stupid expensive, and I am kind of offended about it. But now, less rental houses are doing projectors and projector screens. They're all doing video walls now. So, I don't know. Whatever. I don't know.
You know, you might have 5,000 paper cups or something, and anyway, they sold all of that, and they liquidated the company. But when they liquidated the company, I believe it was insolvent, so their liabilities outweighed their assets. So, who knows? Maybe it all ends well. Maybe they did lose money, and
we can only hope.
Ouch.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Ow,
All right,
damn.
So that's DashCon. That's the Q&A. We're going to try to cover all of the other videos as well, because there's always so much more that happens that never makes it in. I appreciate you checking out the Patreon. We've got a couple of reward tiers now. So the first one is
okay, that's it. So this was like... We stopped at about 32 minutes. I've been talking about this for an hour and a half. Technically a little longer. Okay. Shit. I feel bad about the whole, like, hopefully they lost money. I think they just didn't know what they were getting into, and so that kind of is unfortunate. 'Cause really they just didn't know. And so that's a little mean, I guess. They weren't I don't believe that they were inherently out to screw anyone over or steal anyone's money or whatever. I think they were just a bunch of kids that didn't know what they were getting into, which is kind of valid and fair. Again, like, I started this... I technically wasn't even... I was involved in this. So I've been involved in conventions for 15 years. Pretty high up in my convention the whole time. So I have a different experience level, and things were very different almost 20 years ago when it started, and I started out of university. So, and I wasn't the one... Like, my credit cards were used, but, like, I got paid back. Like, I didn't lose money. So, yeah, I think they were just in over their heads and they didn't. They expected big convention numbers and experiences and etc. And that's... If you don't have someone bankrolling you, you can't do that shit as a first-year convention. You just can't, because people don't trust first-year conventions, as I mentioned. I mean, and there's definitely going to be people that are just going to go or pay attention to it to see if it's a dumpster fire, because that's how people treat first-year conventions, especially from an unknown group or something that's like, oh, these are, you know, Tumblr people, or yeah, I feel bad kind of for them. I feel like y'all really needed to have talked to somebody in this that runs conventions. Like, you needed to get advice. A lot of people come up to Ray and ask Ray for advice, and my advice is always like, do you have money? Because you're going to lose money. And they're like, no, I think I can. And I'm like, I'm going to stop you right there. You cannot make money. So unless you have someone bankrolling you or you have money yourself, I fully believe, and you should fully expect to lose money on a first-year convention. Like, you just should. You should, in fact, expect to lose money for the first few years of your convention. It just is what it is. And you could be lucky and you could make money your first year, or, you know, your second year or whatever. And that's great. And I'm happy for you. But especially nowadays, it's rough out there. But then again, also, I've learned that people will just go to conventions. Like, as long as you're able to get the word out about, hey, there's a convention happening, there's a decent amount of people that will go, depending on the price point, that will just go. Even if it's a first-year convention, or even if it's not a convention they necessarily are interested in what's happening there, they'll go to see their friends or see kind of what's up, see the vibe, etc. I don't necessarily know if those people always buy tickets, or if they're just kind of hanging out around the venue. I don't know. But bodies will show up. I don't know if they're paying bodies. But yeah.